Welcome my friends to our channel Latin Dutch. In today's recipe will be dedicated to the concept of trash cooking, or better put, leftover cooking. I'm sure everyone can relate to the after party situation where you have tons of leftovers at home and you struggle to figure out what to do with it to avoid tossing it away. And that's what this is about. Today we will be making goat rice inspired in trash cooking, and you can apply the same concepts to do this with turkey, with chicken, or any type of roast, especially nowadays that Thanksgiving is around the corner in November, but also other festivals in the world like Diwali, New Year's, Christmas. You get the point. And the story behind this goat leg is that we had very special guests for dinner, and our friend Jasha made this spectacular goat leg which she infused with Indian spices including tons of saffron and enhance flavor and aroma. An image is worth more than 1,000 words, right? But the next day the question is, how do we get the max out of this leftover and squeeze out the last ounce of flavor from it? And that's what inspired this recipe today. So we start with a sharp carving knife and we carve out as much of this meat as possible. But as I said, if you have a turkey or any type of roast, the principle is exactly the same. And as we do that, we start placing all the chunks that we cut out in a bowl. And that will be, of course, our main ingredient. And as you can see here, on this leg, I have plenty of meat to go through first. And as I finish doing that, let's go ahead and check our list of ingredients for today's recipe. But please keep in mind that you can change and adjust them depending on what you have at home. Remember, creativity is the best tool that you have in the kitchen. So mix and match things according to your taste and your style. And let's start with the obvious one, and that's the gut chunks that we got carved out from the roast. And I managed to get about 300 to 400 grams, which is about 2/3 of a pound. Then we have these beautiful potatoes. We call them krieltjes here in the Netherlands. And we cook them along the roast, just underneath the roasted leg, so they become super delicious as they cook because they absorb all its flavor. I also have sliced pistachios and almonds that I will be using for decoration, and pomegranate seeds that will be bringing this wonderful bright red color. A couple of onions, one yellow and one red, which are the ones that I had in my pantry. And finally, perhaps one of the most important things, the drippings from the roast while he was cooking in the oven. And I say we were quite lucky on this one because we got plenty of it. But if you didn't get that much or use it for a gravy or something else, you could either replace it or supplement it with broth. So let's start cooking, and we start with the onions. And as I said, I got one red and one yellow. And I think onions are a noble ingredient. And they can act as binders, bringing together almost any trash cooking or leftover cooking recipe you got. You could also use leeks, green onions, shallots, or any other that is in the family of the onions. And as you can see, I'm roughly slicing it, so how you cut it is just not too important. Once you finish with it, take them to a preheated pan with plenty of ghee or clarified butter. And the idea is to cook them using medium heat, as what we're aiming to do is to caramelize them. Adding a little bit of salt helps the onion release its juices quicker. And in case you need an extra bit more of ghee, like what I'm doing here, then you just go ahead and add it. And if you're wondering why am I using it instead of butter or just oil, well, because it's a wonderful aroma, like a nutty flavor that it provides, and it also has a higher smoking point. And on top of that, it's supposed to have health benefits. So there you go. About 15 minutes later, you will see how the onions start the caramelization process, and at that point, I can transfer them to a large pot where I will cook my rice using the onions and the ghee as base. And in hindsight, I should have started on the pot, but well, too late for that now. Then add the rice, and I'm almost using 2 cups of white rice, medium grain, and after adding it, I want to toast it a little bit to seal the starch inside the grain. So as soon as it turns a bit transparent, that's when I can start to add the goat chunks, which I also like to slowly incorporate with the rice and the onions. And right after, I incorporate the drippings or the stock or the combination. And so you have a reference point for each cup of rice that I'm using. I'm adding double the liquid. Leave at high heat until it starts to boil, and then lower the temperature to medium heat and simmer until the liquid and the rice reach the same level, as you can see here. At that point, cover with a lid and change to low heat. So when the rice is cooking, I add some yellow raisins. This will provide explosion of sweetness in the dish, making sure they're always fully covered by the liquid, and cover with the lid again. After that, add the roasted potatoes, which as I mentioned before, they were cooked just underneath the goat leg, bathing in its juices throughout the cooking. Let it simmer and cook cover until the liquid reduces. That's about 10 to 15 minutes approximately. And after that, open it up and allow the rice to fluff up and finish absorbing all the broth. To decorate, use a little bit of coriander, which I'm fine at chopping first. And in a separate pan, I added the sliced nuts. In this case, I'm using almonds and pistachios to roast them a little bit and bring forward their flavor and crunch. Serve using a large serving plate, placing the potatoes around it and sprinkling the rice with pomegranate seeds for color and flavor. After that, add the almonds and pistachios, and I finalize with the coriander for freshness and a bit of green. And just like this, my dear friends, we reach the end of this video. I hope you like this recipe and put in practice this trash cooking or leftover cooking ideas to reduce and eliminate waste from food. And once again, thank you very much for following our channel, Latin Dutch.